Rose last year for the first time in 9 years as the surge in marriages raised hope that the country may be lifting itself out of the demographic crisis. Preliminary data released by the government body Statistics Korea on Wednesday showed that the number of babies born per 1,000 people in 2024 stood at 4.7, the first rise since 2014. South Korea's fertility rate, or the average number of babies a woman is expected to have in her lifetime, was 0.75, the data said, up 0.03 from 0.72 in 2023. The number of births last year was 238,300, an increase of 8,300 or 3.6%. While the country wrestles with a prolonged political crisis, government attempts to persuade more young people to marry and have children appear to have had a positive, if limited, effect. Also, South Korea has one of the world's longest life expectancies and its lowest birth rate, a combination experts have warned will lead to population instability and pose a threat to its status as a regional economic power. The rise in birth rate has come from a very low base and remains far below the 2.1 births per woman needed to stabilize the population without large-scale immigration. Since 2018, South Korea has been the only OECD country with a rate below 1.0, a level the government says it hopes to achieve by 2030. But it has struggled to tackle factors experts believe that are behind the reluctance to have larger families, including the high cost of living and education, a tough job market, and growing opposition among women to traditional gender roles. The conservative administration of the impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol has spent billions of dollars on a measure to arrest the decline, including the financial incentives for the newlyweds and expanded measures to arrest the decline, including financial incentives for the newlyweds and expected the child care assistance. Also, Yoon, whose fate is now in the hands of the Constitutional Court following his short-lived declaration of martial law in December, has described the low birth rate as a national crisis and said he planned to create a new ministry to address it. Park Hyun-jung, an official from the Statistics Korea, said the rise in the number of marriages seen since the lifting of COVID-19 restriction has continued. The number of marriages considered a reliable indicator of expected birth in the country where few children are born out of wedlock jumped 14.9% last year, the biggest rise since data was first released in 1970. There was no change in the social values, with more positive view about marriages and childbirth, Park told a briefing, adding that a rise in the number of people in the early 30s had also been a factor. It's difficult to measure how much each factor contributed to the rise in the new birth, but they themselves had an impact to each other too, she said. South Korea's overall population is in decline, however, with death outstripping that the birth by 120,000 last year, the fifth consecutive year of the natural sinkage.